Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Nadira binti Zailani. Together with my partner, we will present to you our research study, which is factors that encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship in Selangor.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Putri Nur Halidah binti Abdul Aziz.
First and foremost, we will start with research background. Malaysia must have entrepreneurs who are qualified in different areas such as ICT and scientifically, critically, innovatively, and creatively to confront the problems in this age of globalization. Based on the findings of Abdul Aziz 2003, a society that has many entrepreneurs is the best society. The purpose of this study to find out that have taken students to venture into the field of entrepreneurship in Selangor. There are 4 factors that influence students to venture into entrepreneurship, which are family background, academic background, motivation, and behavior. Next, let's move to the problem statement. There are many factors and theories have been argued from time to time. According to Zafir and Fazila 2003, an individual chooses to be an entrepreneur due to the several motivating factors such as basic needs of life, environmental factors, demographic factors, and community perception. According to Muhammad Mohar and others, 2001, identified several factors that influence a person to become an entrepreneur: family factors, academic achievement, motivation, and role model. Due to these factors, need to identify what are the factors that most influence entrepreneurs when they venture into the field of entrepreneurship. Next is research question and research objective. There are 4 objectives in this research, which are: firstly, does family background contribute to the student encouragement to venture into entrepreneurship in Selangor? Secondly, how far the academic background is can to be factors that encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship in Selangor? Thirdly, is motivation a factor that influence students' involvement in entrepreneurship activities in Selangor? Lastly, are behaviors the factors that encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship in Selangor? While for research question, it is reflection of the research objective.
Contextual framework is the element that illustrates the dependent and independent variable of the factors that encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. So from this diagram, we can see that 4 independent variables, which are family background, academic background, motivation, and behavior, have relationship that encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. Hypothesis is the process that is involved in making the prediction about what will happen in particular study. They are developed by considering existing evidence and using reasoning to what will happen in the specific context of interest. For family background, the hypothesis development is HO1. There is no relationship between family background and encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. HA1, there is a relationship between family background and encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. For academic background, the hypothesis development is HO2, there is no relationship between academic background and encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. HA2, there is a relationship between academic background and encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. Next, for motivation, the hypothesis development is HO3. There is no relationship between motivation and encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. HA3, there is a relationship between motivation and encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. For behavior, hypothesis development is HO4. There is no relationship between behavior and encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. HA4, there is a relationship between behavior and encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. Let's continue with the research methodology. For research design, we have chosen a quantitative method in order to collect data and the information. For the unit of analysis, the individual student venture into entrepreneurship in Selangor. Next, we have chosen 160 respondents among students in Selangor to be our sample size. For sampling technique, We choose the non-probability sampling, which is the convenience sampling. Students from Selangor will be independently chosen as respondent due to ease of access in order to collect data from respondents. Next, we move to data measurement. Likert scale will be used with the measurement of 1 to 5 from strongly disagree to strongly agree. For data collection, it consists of 6 questions, which are Section A, demography, Section B, family background, Section C, academic background, Section D, motivation, Section E, behavior, and Section F, encouragement students to venture into entrepreneurship. All of these sections consist of 6 questions each to collect data for our research. Last but not least will be the data analysis. Statistical analysis was performed by using SPSS and Pearson correlation, and multiple regression were used to test the proposed model.
Now, let's continue with research findings. For gender, the finding indicates the most of the respondents involved in the study composed of female respondents, which are 109 or 68.1%. Next is an age. The age of 23 years old until 27 years old is the highest percentage, which is 63.1% or 101 respondents. For level of education, the highest respondents comes from degree with 90 respondents, which represent 56.3%. For district, all the respondents were live in Selangor but from different districts, so mostly of respondents are from Kuala Langat, which constitute of 91 respondents with 56.9%. This is type of business. It shows that the most of respondents are selling food and beverage with 97 respondents or 60.6%. Last but not least, for the medium of business, most of respondents are use Facebook and Instagram as a medium to sell their businesses, which have been using by 41 respondents or 25.6%.
Next, we go to the main finding, where the first objective is to identify the family background that contribute the factors that encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship in Selangor. We use multiple regression. The hypothesis show that the stronger independent variable that influence students to venture into entrepreneurship is family background. The second objective is to determine the academic background can be a factor that encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship in Selangor. We use Pearson correlation and the result is 0.319. The hypothesis is HA2 was accepted and H now was rejected. The third objective to describe the motivation involved in the factors that encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship in Selangor. We use Pearson correlation and the result is 0.4000. The hypothesis is HA3 was accepted and H now was rejected. The last objective is to observe how behavior influences the factor that encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship in Selangor. We use Pearson correlation and the result is 0.313. The hypothesis is HA4 was accepted and H now was rejected. The first recommendation is entrepreneurship cultivation through the national education system. In our country, the process of cultivating entrepreneurship has become a major focus, and it has been started by involving students at the primary, secondary school level, student institution of higher learning, and the general public. The Ministry of Education Malaysia has implemented the entrepreneurship cultivation program through the school curriculum. Several syllabus related to entrepreneurship such as principle of account, commerce, business study, life skill, vocational subject, and etc. The second recommendation is entrepreneurship culture in ICT in the National Higher Education Transformation Strategic Plan. Ministry of Higher Education, the government intends to see national higher education institutions play an important role in stimulating the country's transformation toward K-economy or knowledge-based economy. The third recommendation is education in entrepreneurship through successful business model. Each student will be assigned as a mentor in the program so that students can participate in all business decisions. This type of training allows students to learn more about what an entrepreneur is and be introduced into the local business environment as potential entrepreneurs of the future. Last recommendation is increased entrepreneurship program. Entrepreneurship programs need to be increased in an effort to attract more entrepreneurs, especially young people such as students or young, to venture into business. Through such effort, it can attract interest among students to become successful entrepreneurs.
Next is research limitation. The sample only come from students that live in Selangor. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is really challenging to get all the data. Researchers just only can rely on social platforms to spread the online survey. The second limitation is limited model. There are 4 independent variables and 1 dependent variable. The study should be conducted using a variety of variables in order to achieve more reliable results. This is because the researchers only research the factors in the equation. Lastly, weaknesses of the quantitative study. The main objective of quantitative research is to quantify the data. Respondents have limited choice. In conclusion, the study has ultimately shown that there is a connection between the family background, academic background, motivation, and behavior towards encouraging students to venture into entrepreneurship. The study also claimed the most significant positive relationship is the relationship between family backgrounds in encouraging students to venture into entrepreneurship. In the future, the study can be an example and reference for other researchers to gain new knowledge and identify the factors that encourage students to venture into entrepreneurship. That's all. Thank you.